Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are looking at a very beautiful and thought-provoking poem titled The Unseen Painter. In this lesson, we will go step by step. We'll first look at the title and what it suggests. Then we'll analyze the structure of the poem. We will go line by line to uncover the meaning of the poem. We will then talk about the characters presented. We will explore the narrative techniques used, discuss the main theme, and finally, I'll give you some possible exam-style questions. So grab your notebook and let's dive into The Unseen Painter together. Let's begin with the title. The title of the poem is The Unseen Painter. The title suggests that there is an artist whose work we see but remains invisible. And then this artist refers to God. He is the ultimate painter. He paints the world using light, darkness, sky, sun, moon, clouds, and people. The word unseen highlights both mystery and divine presence. Now let's dive into the poem. The Unseen Painter. The very white canvas suddenly turned darker. God must be a painter, changing dark and white sheets, painting them bright with sunlight and dark with the moon and twinkling stars, sometimes with white cloudy humans and a pregnant woman in the sun, or a woman with a cuddled child in the sun. God must be a painter, and we men paint him too, as black or white or Indian or Caucasian. Now to the structure of the poem. The poem is written in free verse with no fixed rhyme scheme. So we do not have a rhyme scheme for this particular poem. Again, the poem is a 4-stanza poem of an equal length with 12 lines. There is the use of enjambment to create a smooth flow of ideas from one line to the next in the poem. The diction of the poem is obviously simple and clear because everyday English words are being used to make the ideas of God, nature, and painting easy to understand. Repetition of God must be a painter acts like a refrain, emphasizing God's creative role and reinforcing the central idea. Also in the poem, we see visual imagery dominating. The poem makes strong use of imagery, especially visual pictures of the sky, sunlight, moon, stars, and clouds to present God as a painter. The tone of the poem is reflective, admiring, and contemplative, showing awe for God's creation. Now we'll move on to line by line analysis. So we are going to analyze the poem line by line. Stanza 1, we have 3 lines. So line 1 says, the very white canvas. Here, the poet compares the sky or daylight to a blank white canvas, like an artist's starting point. Line 2 says, suddenly turned darker. So, this day changes into night, as though someone somewhere painted over the sky. Line 3, God must be a painter. So the poet concludes that this transformation from day to night is God's work, presenting him as an unseen painter. So this is the analysis for stanza 1. Now stanza 2, line 4. It says, changing dark and white sheets. Here, the sky is seen like sheets of clothes, changing from day to night. Line 5. painting them bright with sunlight. So daytime is described as God painting the world with the light of the sun. Line 6, and dark with the moon and twinkle stars. So we all could testify that at night the sky changes. So God decorates the sky with the moon and stars, like an artist adding details to a painting. Stanza 3, line 7. Sometimes with white, cloudy humans. So clouds are described as forming shapes that look like human beings. Line 8. And a pregnant woman in the sun. Sometimes we see clouds form images resembling a pregnant woman. This may also allude to biblical imagery like Mary and baby Jesus. Line 9. Or a woman with a cuddled child in the sun. The sky sometimes seems to show the shape of a mother holding a child, and this symbolizes care, love, or divine presence. Now to the last stanza, which is stanza 4, line 10 says, God must be a painter. So the central idea is repeated here. Only a divine painter could create such wonders in the sky. Line 11. And we men paint him too. So just as God paints the sky, humans also paint God, not on canvas, but in our imaginations. Line 12. As black or white or Indian or Caucasian. So people imagine God as belonging to their race, whether black, white, Indian or Caucasian. And this shows human limitations in understanding the divine. Characterization. We realize that two individuals are presented in this poem. First, we have God. So God is presented as a creative and an unseen artist who is majestic and powerful. Also, we have humans being imaginative but also limited and projecting their own identities onto God. Narrative techniques. The poem uses a first-person reflective narrative technique where the speaker observes the sky and nature, then interprets them through imagery and metaphor to present God as a painter. Now let's look out for some literary devices in the poem. We have imagery. So there is vivid descriptions of the sun, moon, stars, and clouds, creating pictures in the reader's mind. Example, painting them bright with sunlight and dark with the moon and twinkling stars. It creates a mental picture to the reader. The next literary device is symbolism. We realize that canvas symbolizes the sky. Painting symbolizes God's act of creation. Also, the pregnant woman and child symbolizes life, motherhood, and possibly biblical references. There is a use of repetition in the poem. So the phrase, God must be a painter, is repeated to stress the central idea and add rhythm to the poem. We also see enjambment in the poem because the ideas flow from one line to the next without pause, and this creates continuity. There is also contrast in the poem where white is seen versus dark, day versus night. So it highlights the balance of creation. We also have metaphor, where comparing God to a painter and the world to his canvas is the extended metaphor that drives the whole poem. Also, we have allusion. So, the pregnant woman and child allude to biblical figures like Mary and Jesus. So, we are making reference to the Bible, hence allusion. Now, let's look out for some themes in the poem. The first theme is God as creator or artist. So, God is portrayed as the unseen painter who designs the sky, day, and night. Also, we say the beauty of nature is also another theme we would want to look at. This is because the sun, moon, stars, and clouds are presented as divine works of art. So they are beauty. They are the beauty of nature. The third theme is imagination and perception. So humans see shapes in clouds and imagine figures, showing the link between divine creation and human imagination. The next theme is religion and spirituality. The reference to a pregnant woman and child alludes to biblical imagery. We have Mary and Jesus, and this links creation to faith, hence religion and spirituality. The last theme is human limitation. So humans paint God in their own image: black, white, Indian, and Caucasian. This clearly shows how people reduce the divine to their race or their culture. Now, let's move on to some examinable questions. Try these questions on your own. You can also answer them in the comment section, and I'll also be there to assist you. If you also have any question, do well to ask in the comment section. Now let's dive into the examinable questions. We have 8 questions here. So the first question is, discuss how imagery is used to present God in the poem. The second one, what does the poem mean by God must be a painter? Third, examine the contrast between divine creation and human imagination in the poem. 4. How does the poem or the poet use symbolism to communicate themes? Question number 5. What themes are explored in The Unseen Painter? 6. Explain the significance of the last stanza in relation to the whole poem. Question 7. Analyze the structure of its effects on meaning. And question 8. Identify some literary devices in the poem. A quick recap. So, in this poem, we talked about the title, the structure of the poem, line-by-line analysis, characterization, narrative technique, literary devices, themes, and some likely examination questions. Thank you for joining me on this poetic journey. If you enjoyed this lesson, give a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and most importantly, share to your friends at home. Keep reading, keep reflecting, and stay inspired. See you in my next video. Bye for now.